Today we're doing a drywall repair. Exactly like this one, but I'm going to show you how to do it on this side. First, we got to take off the quarter round on the bottom, and just got to take your razor and cut the caulk or the paint all the way down. Cut it all the way down. I'm going to pause it and do that now. Alright, we got that cut. Take your pry bar, pry it away. Just like so. Alright, I pulled it off. Now I'll do the same thing with the baseboard here. You want to cut the caulking away in the paint so that you can pull it away from the wall. See, when you cut it, now you can pull it away. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, make sure you take your time to cut a straight line if you're using the material. I'm not, this is garbage, but I'm going to show you how to do it if you were to reuse the material. See, it comes off the wall now, because if not, it would tear away the paint from the wall, the caulking, it'll rip it up, and then you got to try to fix that. Here we're only going to have to recaulk it and put the piece back on, so that's what we're aiming for. As you can see, there's mold there, black mold. Make sure you get yourself a nice respirator, gloves, and whatever you need. Spray it with bleach, cut it out, and put it in a bag. Try not to agitate it, getting the spores into the air. If you're unsure about the mold, call a professional. Have a professional take care of it. You can see where the water damage is, so I just cut out past that. And you could cut out, my favorite way to cut it out is a oscillating tool. You could use a razor blade too, it'll work just fine. Where I'm at, in this area, there's no certificate for removing mold. Anyone can basically call themselves a mold removal expert. So what I'm gonna do to take some precautions, just to show you some ways that you can do it. I'm gonna use a HEPA filter vacuum. I'm actually gonna vacuum off the spores for starters. Anything that comes off, we just throw it in the bag. And if you use a HEPA filter vacuum, make sure you have a bag in there so it's not inside your vacuum and it's actually inside of a bag. Then go ahead and spray it with your disinfectant or whatever you have to kill your mold. You can also take it one step further if you really want to be precautious. That's up to you and maybe your local laws or whatever. Here you can see I taped a bag or plastic around the mold so that it is contained behind the plastic, between the plastic and the wall. Obviously there's some little mold on the subfloor there, which disinfecting everything, take care of that. Alright, now just pull it out. make sure you go throw that in your garbage bag. So we're going to come through here with some bleach or whatnot. Actually, I'm not even using bleach, hydrogen peroxide. And that's what I'm going to use to clean up all the spores here. So I'm going to get to that and I'll come back after I'm done. Okay, we got all that mold taken care of. I like to go back through. This has a vapor barrier on it. And anywhere I cut through the vapor barrier, I put on the Tyvek tape or just something that sticks really well to a plastic, or I mean, you might have insulation that has like a vapor barrier built into it, so like the backing of the insulation. Just tape it wherever you cut it. Vapor barrier is there for a reason. And if you have mold in your insulation, just cut it out, replace it. And now we need to support the drywall, and you don't have to, you can see the studs. You don't have to cut it on a stud. It doesn't matter. I don't have to go another 10 inches that way to the stud. I'll show you what to do so you have something to screw to and that's secure. Alright, here it is. 1/2 inch CDX plywood. You could use 2x4, whatever wood you have. We just need to screw it here so that we have something for the drywall to screw into on both sides. I have actual drywall bits. It buries the head perfectly. I almost forgot one of my secrets. People don't usually do this. I don't see very many people do this anyways. I usually do this before I do the screws. Now that I got this line on here, I'll cut it with my razor. Now I peel the paper back. A lot of people don't do this. A lot of people say, oh, you get bubbles and your paper delaminates and all this other stuff. And see, that's why I do it before I do the screws, because it does that. But that's okay. The paper actually helps hold the screws in better. So and the people saying the paper will delaminate, they're right, it will delaminate, but you just have to know what to do to prevent the delamination of the paper, because you'll get bubbles. You get a bubble in your paper or whatever because it didn't stick or it's delaminating. So what I usually do is I have a spray glue. I use like a Gorilla Glue or a Super 77, or I've heard of people using Aquanet hairspray. Anyways, I don't have my spray glue, but I'm gonna use contact cement because. So I'm just gonna glue this paper back down, and that should take care of the delamination. Like, let's just say you were doing your tape and your mud was too dry. If your mud is too dry and you don't get, and it's under the tape, well, the tape's going to delaminate. You need to make sure that you have the right consistency for doing mud and tape with your drywall mud. Your joint compound, you need to make sure you have the right joint compound. You need to make sure it's the right consistency. It's not dried out or too dry. So there's lots of factors that can cause your tape to bubble. And if you didn't figure out, well, I pulled the paper, or most of it, because when I'm done with this, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to see it. There's a small chance you could see it, but it's very unlikely you're actually going to see these fixes. And hiding the tape like this, it definitely helps with that. You can smooth out the longest amount of mud, 12 inches, and you're still going to see the hump in there. But if you're able to actually bury the tape deeper, it's very hard to see, because you're not adding onto the wall that's all the same thickness. You're taking away some to kind of gain back that flushness. Go, got it all screwed in. Now next is tape and mud. This is the mud we're going to use. We're going to water it down. It's a little thick. The directions on it say to water it down if you want to tape or finish mud. And it really helps with the taping and the finish mud because it gets really thick. So that's what we're going to do right now. So it's pretty thick. We're just going to add some water, clean water. I'm not sure if you can see the consistency difference, but it's a lot thinner. Thinner is definitely better for taping. Get it all absorbed into that paper. Smooth it out really thin. And I always use paper. Paper is a lot stronger than mesh. Mesh has its places, but not here. Got her mud on there. Nice and thin. Just like that. I don't know if you're able to see this camera. We can stick this on there. That's pretty difficult. The camera's right in my way. But I think we can get this on there. Again, nice and thin. And right now the paper is actually just under the paper we cut out. So this can be nice and smooth. Of course, with the texture, we get these textured lines. Okay, nice and thin. See how you can see the paper? That's where we want it. See if we get closer up here. Yeah, you can see the paper. Looks like we have a spot right there. It's a little bubble. that'd be the first coat. And it says we gotta wait 24 hours for the next coat. So I usually use hot mud so that I can get a second coat on same day, and that really cuts the time down. So we still got 2 more coats. And you can fill the nail or screw holes now. Chances are they'll need more on the second time around. They're probably concave on us, unless you put a nice big fatty dab on there. So I'll show you putting the mud on. Definitely not a professional at applying the mud to get a professional result, but I don't do mudding every day, so definitely not as efficient as these guys who do it every day. Definitely rookie status here. We're back to second day. Got the first coat on. It's looking really nice, nice and thin. What you want to do now is any ridge or high spot, we just scrape it off. So just scrape off anything that's high. The smoother the better. Pretty new to this, you'll probably have lots of ridges, but as you can see, the first coat is as smooth as can be, except for, you know, the little ridges here. Got one there, got some here, so just find all your ridges, take them off. So the mud is pretty thick, thicker than I like it. So we're gonna add some water to it, thin it out. Got it better. It's nice and smooth. If you're mixing large quantities, obviously use like a bucket and a mixer, but this is a small job, so this will work. Always use clean water, cold, clean water. So yesterday we used the 3-inch knife. Today I'm gonna go 6-inch knife, and we're not trying to put it on thick. As you can see, it's really smooth and thin. That's what we want. And if you didn't know, the mudding knives, they actually have a bend to them. So depending on which side you use, if you use this side, you could have like more build up in the center here. But if you use this side, you can like feather the corners. So pay attention, not all mud knives are like that. Some are just straight. how I'm just using the edge of the knife. I'm actually bending it, the corner that's not on the mud, so that it lifts this side so it smooths out the edge. So again, pushing down on this bottom corner to lift up and smooth this edge out. As you can see, it has the high spot in the center here. I don't know if you can see that on the video. Yeah, the high spot there. It's because I'm pushing down now. I'm pushing down on the top corner. You can see it there in the center. Go straight across, nice and smooth. And your mud definitely plays a huge role on how it spreads on the wall. If it's too thick, it's going to suck to spread. I'm just going to come back through and refill these screw holes again. Take off the extra. When you're going over your final, you don't want any mud. Your final pass. Don't want any mud on the knife. Scrape it off. Final pass. Oh, we're a little low there, so we can fill that in. Try that again. See, we have that ridge there. We can just leave it because we'll come back and scrape it off. But this is super smooth. Let's see. I don't know how well you can see that in the video, but it is super smooth, except for that ridge, but we will come and scrape that off. That's super easy to scrape off, as long as the edges are as smooth as you can get them. Like I said, this last coat, we're gonna bring it up to like here. This whole panel will be solid mud. So I got something in the mud. Wipe that. Get it off. Wipe it. Somewhere. Have something in your mud. Take it out. And then wipe it somewhere on your pan that you're not going to use, like the corner. And when you sand, never sand the paper. If you get the paper, stop, because you will not be able to hide that with paint. But if you're texturing over, this right here is actually probably good enough. I don't know if you can see the little ridge. This is probably pretty good for texture because texture completely covers. So I'm not going to do that. I actually will do the third coat, get a nice amount of mud on there, and then I'll sand the edges. I might wet sand them. It's really smooth, so I might just wet sand the edges, and then I'll texture over it. Okay, day 3. Final coat. Unless it's not good enough, you can also do a 4th coat. Again, just scrape off the ridges. Everything else is pretty smooth. Got the 12-inch, 10-inch. I'll probably do the 12. Always remember I want to just drag it out a little bit further, but since I removed the tape in the beginning, it's already smooth. But each coat should be a little wider than the last, because most of it's humped where you have your tape. So the further you can bring it, the less obvious that hump will be. But I removed the tape or the paper off the drywall, so it helps not physically see any hump there. Since this is the final coat, you can mix your mud a lot wetter, because the wetter it is, the smoother it's gonna lay out for you. I don't know if you can see as good as me. Turn down my light here. There, you can see the texture to it. Super smooth. May not look that smooth, but it is really smooth. The edges do not raised really high. Very nice. See, if I go across the texture like this, it'll leave these ripples, so it might be better just going up. Get rid of those ripples. So here's the before. Pretty smooth. Second coat. We're going for a third now. Bam, just like that. Use just the edge. Got the crazy ripples. We'll go just to the inside. Here we are, 4th day, texture day. Super smooth. Look how smooth that is. There's a few imperfections, but it is smooth as can be. Like I said, I'm just gonna hit the edges there. I'm not gonna wet sand it, I'm just gonna sand it. There we go, got the edges. That's ready for texture. It's texture time. I'm gonna use this Power Tex, and we have our Fast Tex. It's already pre made mud or texture in the bag. You gotta thin it out, which that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna thin it out. We got orange peel, so orange peel, you actually need it pretty thin. Well, with this gun, I don't know about any other gun, but for this gun, you need it pretty thin, because I mean, when you look at orange peel, it's just little specks that aren't raised very high. They're pretty flat for the most part, so that means it's pretty thin, and that's what we're gonna do right now. Just gotta mix this stuff up first. to show you how thick it is insanely thick. And you can just use the joint compound. I believe that's what it says on the box. You can use the joint compound. It says on the box on the power text. Still too thick. Ooh. It's too thick. There we go. It's like pancake batter. Obviously a little thicker pancake batter, but that's what we're going to use. So I've seen people use this machine before online, and they made it look super difficult, and they just didn't know what they were doing, because the first time I used it, it worked perfectly fine. The way that it works is the air comes through the black hole, and then when you press the trigger, it has like a cone, and the material flows around and shoots out. So you just barely want to open the trigger so that it can just leak past that seal, because you want just little fine speckles just shooting out. If you open it all the way, obviously it's just going to be a mess. So take your time, and little speckles is just fine. Pour it into the gun. Probably can't see it, but see the little speckles on there. It's not very fast, you just keep going. You overrun, so it blends in. See, it looks really nice. That's so nice. If you look at the original texture, let's see. Get it focus in here. It's kind of hard to see it. Once it's painted, it's going to blend really nice, and it actually kind of settles down a little bit too. And if it's too thick, like if the bumps are sitting too high, just make it a little thinner and they will even out. Got the primer. Now the paint. I was waiting for a sunnier day because it's so hard to capture the texture right, the lighting. It makes it so hard to actually see. But there is no high spot. Usually you would have a hump. Let's see. You would have a hump from the drywall mud right there. And there is nothing. See, that's why I go and I take out a little bit of the drywall so that I can make it sit flat. It's perfectly flat. Not a single hump in this wall. You cannot tell that I fixed it. Same thing here. The fix is right about here. No hump. Perfect flatness. It's really hard to see the texture, but perfectly flat. Can't tell it was ever patched, except for my level just left some dirt on there, which is fine. I got more paint. We'll just paint it. And that's how you fix drywall professionally. Here's another view. I'm almost completely done with this job. Trim's back on, but I wanted to show you these fixes in the drywall. Well, you cannot see, you can't see them. I showed you this with the level, but these fixes do not exist. They are completely hidden, completely flat. And we have completed. New door, new casing, new baseboard, new drywall, texture, paint. Got a door seal. The door jams. Deck has been rebuilt. Still has all the same deck boards, just new joists underneath. Painted shingles, painted top cap, new siding, painted siding. Oh, new gutter chain. Mini blinds in the window. Pretty nice. Change this. This is different. The old casing went down to the ground right here. Instead I did it like this, it looks nicer. Nice and clean looking.